Welcome to this channel. Mau belajar bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa Inggris dengan cara yang seru, santai, dan mudah dipahami? You're in the right place. Belajar kosakata dan ekspresi sehari-hari. Learn daily vocabulary and expressions. Dengarkan contoh situasi nyata. Listen to real-life examples. Subscribe sekarang dan nyalakan notifikasi. Let's learn together and have fun.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a stack of information and get you well-informed fast. Today, our mission, well, it isn't just to pull up facts. We're actually diving deep into the structure of communication itself. And we're doing that through a really fascinating and practical lens, how to talk about the weather in Indonesia. This deep dive is, well, specifically tailored for anyone learning Indonesian. It should give you a real shortcut to understanding and, confidently discussing a common everyday topic.
That's exactly right. The source material for this deep dive is actually a detailed lesson guide. It does a great job combining practical vocabulary, essential grammar points, and some really insightful cultural context. So what we'll do for you is distill all of that. We're providing not just definitions, but real-world usage and key insights into how Indonesian speakers talk about the weather, and maybe more importantly, why certain phrases or structures matter in their daily lives. Think of it as like fast-tracking your understanding.
Okay, great. So, to set the scene, our main source is titled Intermediate S1 Hashtag for What Will the Weather Be Like in Indonesia Today? And it really wastes no time. It kicks right off with a snippet from an actual TV weather broadcast. We're going to share that with you now in Indonesian. As you listen, maybe try to catch any familiar sounds or even guess what some of it means. Just, lean into the flow. Pembawa acara TV Ketinggi. Selamat pagi bagi para penonton di seluruh tanah air Indonesia. Saya akan menyampaikan berita perakiraan cuaca dimulai dari kota Jakarta. Prediksi untuk kota Jakarta pada pagi hari ini akan diguyur hujan dengan intensitas ringan dengan suhu rata-rata dan di sekitar derajat Celcius. Sedangkan di siang hari nanti diperkirakan akan menjadi cerah dengan suhu sekitar 3 derajat Celcius. Di sore hari, Kota Jakarta akan berpotensi hujan ringan sampai malam hari dengan suhu yang lebih rendah lagi, yaitu 26 derajat Celcius.
Okay. And for those of you who are maybe trying to decipher that, here's the direct English translation. The TV host says, "Good morning, dear audiences across the homeland of Indonesia. I will deliver the weather forecast news starting with the city of Jakarta." Quote, "The prediction for the city of Jakarta in the morning will be pouring rain with light intensity with an average temperature of 29 degrees Celsius.
Helping.
Meanwhile, later on the day is expected to be sunny with an average temperature of 32 degrees Celsius. Quote, in the afternoon, Jakarta City will have the potential for light rain with a low of 26 degrees Celsius. What I find immediately striking is just how, formal and clear it is. It sets that official tone right from the start with, "Good morning, dear audiences across the homeland of Indonesia," almost like a national address,
Yeah, that broadcast snippet really throws you right into it, doesn't it? And like any good immersive experience, it gives us a taste of the real deal. But to truly unlock it, we need to break it down a bit. So where do we start? With the absolute building blocks of those phrases, I guess. The essential vocabulary.
Well, yeah, if you were listening closely, you probably caught a few key words, and that's exactly where our source material starts, with the essential vocabulary. Let's pull out a few that are particularly telling. You definitely heard penonton, that's the noun for audience, la. It immediately signals that public, formal nature of the broadcast. For example, para penonton terkesima melihat penampilannya. The audience was stunned looking at their appearance. Then there's gayur. That's a fantastic verb meaning to pour. You heard it in akan, diguyur, hujan, will be pouring rain.
I actually remember once I got caught in a sudden Jakarta downpour. And it wasn't just rain, it was truly a gyre huge, and it felt like someone just turned on a giant faucet overhead. It's such a vivid word.
Wow, yeah. Right. Here's an example. Rambutku basah terkena guyur hujan. My hair was wet by the pouring rain. Rise. And then Sera, that's an adjective meaning sunny or bright. Knowing this is like a shortcut to understanding daily activities, because saya sering pergi berpiknik saat kuakasera, I often go on a picnic on a sunny day.
To try.
These aren't just words, they're immediate clues to the context and, even the intensity of the message.
I love how some words just feel like what they mean. Gyur definitely sounds like pouring. And speaking of how words feel, it's one thing to know individual words, but the real challenge in a new language is often how they string together, right? Or how a single word can change its meaning based on context. What's one of the most interesting phrases you picked up from this material?
That's a great question, because language isn't just about individual words, it's how they combine. One fascinating phrase from that broadcast is Tanah Air Indonesia. It literally means homeland of Indonesia. Tanah is land and air is water. It's a very formal, almost poetic term used to refer to the entire country.
Right.
But in everyday conversation, you're much more likely to hear kampung halaman. That literally translates to village yard, but it means one's birthplace or hometown. Kampung is village and halaman is yard. The real insight here is how quickly you can sound like a local just by picking the right level of formality. It's kind of like choosing between saying, I shall inform you, versus I'll text you the deets in English,
Right, yeah. Big difference.
Huge. For instance, dia lahir dan dibesarkan di tanah air Indonesia sampai berumur 15 tahun. He was born and raised in the homeland of Indonesia until he was 15 years old. Formal context. Then another crucial phrase is menyampaikan berita. That translates to deliver the news. The root word is sampai, meaning to arrive or to reach. With the specific prefix and suffix, it forms this verb, giving it that formal feel.
Okay.
But in everyday and formal chats, you'd more likely hear kasih kabar. Kasih is an informal verb for to give, and kabar is another word for news. So kasih kabar is just to give news.
Much more casual.
Exactly. The example from the source is, dia akan menyampaikan berita dengan bahasa isyarat di televisi. She will deliver the news with sign language on TV. Formal again. Knowing this subtle difference is a real shortcut to navigating social situations in Indonesian.
That point about formality really brings to mind how tricky it can be to navigate those nuances in a new language. You really don't want to sound like a news anchor when you're just asking a friend for updates. And speaking of updates, predictions are everything in a weather report, right? So how do they signal future events, especially when it's all about what will happen?
Exactly. This brings us straight to a crucial grammar point, indicating future actions with a can. It's basically the Indonesian equivalent of will, and you'll hear it constantly in weather forecasts because they are, well, by nature, all about future events. It's a bit different from English, though. A can often carries a sense of prediction or potential rather than a rigid certainty, which is perfect for weather. It's rarely a guaranteed outcome, right?
Right, that makes sense. So it's not always a definite, this will happen.
Not always quite so definite, no. Let's look at some common phrases where akan appears, straight from our source. You'll hear akan menjadi, meaning will become, as in pada sore hari cuaca akan menjadi cerah. In the afternoon, the weather is going to be sunny. This implies a change, transformation.
Yeah.
Or akan berpotensi, which means will have the potential or will potentially. For example, Yogyakarta akan berpotensi hujan deras di siang hari. Yogyakarta will potentially have heavy rain during the day. See, berpotensi adds that layer of likelihood, not absolute certainty.
Got it. Potential, not guarantee.
Exactly. Then there's also akan diperkirakan, meaning will be expected, like cuaca di daerah Jabodetabek akan diperkirakan cerah berawan di pagi hari. The weather in the Jabodetabek area is predicted to be bright with some clouds in the morning. This one really highlights the forecast aspect, that it's an estimation. And akan terjadi, which means will happen or will occur, such as akan terjadi gerimis di malam hari. There will be drizzle or light rain at night. This is a more straightforward statement of an event. Finally, akan melanda. That means will hit or will strike, as in hujan badai akan melanda kota Surabaya di malam hari. Thunderstorms will strike Surabaya city at night. Melanda carries a real sense of impact, of something sweeping over an area. And of course, you can also just simply say, akan hujan will rain, or akan diguyur hujan will be pouring rain, like we heard in the initial dialogue.
It's so clear how akan is just, well, the backbone of these forecasts. Understanding its various uses really feels like a shortcut to grasping the nuances of a weather report. So beyond these core elements, what other expressions give us a deeper dive into climate talk? What else should we know?
Yeah, that's a great next step, because our source then moves into weather forecast related expressions, giving you even more tools for discussing climate beyond the absolute basics. For instance, you definitely need to know suhu tertinggi for highest temperature and suhu terendah for lowest temperature. And of course, derajat for degree. Those are your essential metrics.
The basics, right? Temperature highs and lows.
Exactly. And an important term for a tropical climate like Indonesia's is curah hujan, which means precipitation. Given Indonesia's geography, this is a vital concept, and it connects directly to real-world issues. For example, karena curah hujan yang semakin meningkat, waspadalah akan banjir dan tanah longsor. Due to increasing precipitation, please beware of floods and landslides. Very practical warning.
Yeah, very direct link there.
Absolutely. You'll also likely encounter BMKG. That stands for Badan Meteorology, Klimatologi, dan Geofisika. It's the Indonesian Agency for Meteorology, Climatology, and Geophysics, basically the official authority for all weather data. Knowing this acronym is a shortcut to identifying credible sources.
Good to know, BMKG. Got it.
And because of the influence of monsoon winds, Indonesia has an iklim tropis, a tropical climate. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But here's a fun fact. Salju, or snow, can only be found in one place in Indonesia, the Jaya Mountain in Papua. A surprising contrast in a tropical nation, wouldn't you say?
Snow in Indonesia. That's amazing. Okay, that's a great trivia point. These specific terms really do allow for such nuanced discussions about weather and climate, especially relevant for anyone exploring or living in Indonesia. What's truly striking here, though, is how the discussion of weather then directly connects to a significant, recurring, real-world issue in Indonesia, specifically in Jakarta. The flooding. It really shows how language isn't just abstract, is it? It's deeply rooted in daily reality.
It absolutely does. Our source includes a cultural insight section that really details Jakarta's annual floods. We learned that nearly 6,000 people were evacuated from Jakarta back on February 8, 2015, after heavy rains caused widespread flooding. Areas like Trisakti University, Tarumanagara University, and Kelapa Gading saw water heights of 60 to 80 centimeters. That's, pretty significant.
Wow, yeah, knee deep or more.
Right. And this wasn't just an inconvenience, it had a huge impact. Shops, malls, offices had to close. Transportation was incredibly difficult. People were resorting to rubber boats and even human-drawn wooden carts. And this isn't some isolated incident. It happens at least once a year in Jakarta itself.
Once a year.
Yeah. The source identifies several interconnected causes. Heavily polluted and clogged canals, poor underground sewage systems, blocked waterways, and even deforestation in surrounding areas like Bogor and Depok, which means less natural absorption of rainwater upstream. A very useful expression to describe this recurring event is banjir tahunan, or the annual flooding.
Banjir tahunan. That phrase really packs a punch, knowing the context. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Well, learning a language often unveils these deeper cultural and societal contexts. It's clearly not just about words and grammar. It's about understanding the challenges and realities of a place and how the language reflects those. Understanding Banjir Tahunan goes way beyond vocabulary. It's a window into a major issue for millions. And there you have it. A complete journey through an Indonesian weather forecast. We went from basic vocabulary to complex phrases, grammar rules like akan, and even crucial cultural implications like Jakarta's annual floods. We really hope this deep dive has given you the tools to not only understand, but to confidently engage with real Indonesian conversations about the weather.
Yeah, and this raises an important question, doesn't it? The terms and grammar we explored today aren't just abstract linguistic concepts. Not at all. They are actually essential for navigating the realities of a country, like understanding a recurring natural phenomenon such as these annual floods in Jakarta. It really shows how daily news, environmental issues, and language are just deeply intertwined, giving you a much more comprehensive understanding of the world around you.
Indeed. And it makes you wonder, how might learning these very specific weather terms prepare you not just for a simple forecast, but actually for understanding broader discussions about climate resilience, maybe urban planning, and even community efforts in a place like Indonesia? Something to think about as you go about your day.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.